incremental increase. The government moves to increase the minimum wage.
Also ahead tonight, the hotel union responds to the Melia Resort refusing to deduct union dues.
Thunderclap, international basketball action in full swing. You've got the highlights. The Bahamas tonight, the national report starts now.
Now in HD. ZNS Network presents The Bahamas Tonight. This portion of the news brought to you by BTC Every Day.
An increase for minimum wage is on the way. Good evening, everyone. I'm Chris Saunders. Thank you so much for joining us.
I'm Kish Latterly. Thanks for looking in. Topping the news tonight, Bahamians making minimum wage could see a salary increase once amendments to the Minimum Wage Act are approved. Parliamentarians began that debate in the House of Assembly today. Foreign Affairs Minister Fred Mitchell gave his support to the bill, also addressing another matter. Cleopatra Murphy has more.
Emancipate yourself from mental slavery. None but ourselves can.
Minister of Foreign Affairs and Immigration, the Honorable Fred Mitchell, broke into a rendition of Bob Marley's Redemption Song as debate began on the amendments to the Minimum Wage Act in the House of Assembly Wednesday that, if passed, will see the minimum wage rise to $210 per week. Mitchell says it is necessary to support what is happening and to oppose the attack on workers in the country. He indirectly addressed comments he made about Bahamar developer Sarkis Ismailian, who he suggested earlier this week should seek another country to live in after being overly critical of government and the criticism he has received from opposition members.
So it's not surprising that as soon as you attack some overlord in these days, some of his friends, servants, and agents will start singing their song with buzzwords like inappropriate and out of order and belligerent. And you shouldn't be saying it and you shouldn't behave like that.
Minister of Labor, the Honorable Shane Gibson, introduced the legislation that would take effect August 15th. Should the resolution pass, the Bahamas would rank among countries with the highest minimum wage in the region. Gibson says it is important to legislate minimum standards, pointing out that many employers would take advantage of employees without it. He says it is a hallmark of the PLP government to fight for those who cannot fight for themselves.
Many of those employees in Malia will now be impacted by this minimum wage. Some of them, Mr. Speaker, would not have received an increase from the time they started working. Because the employer decided, listen here, all we paying you is this minimum wage, that's it. And then they manipulate the gratuity process where they decide how to distribute the gratuity. And so they now control the gratuity and the wages.
Member of Parliament for South Beach, Cleola Hamilton, seconded the resolution, which she says will decrease reliance on social services, relieve financial stress, and raise the standard of living.
I, along with other trade union fighters, have been advocating for minimum wage increase for a number of years. I am happy this day has finally come.
Member of Parliament for Long Island, Loretta Butler Turner, credited the Free National Movement with introducing minimum wage in 2002, something she says for more than 25 years the PLP failed to do. Despite the pending wage increase, Butler Turner says unemployment remains a challenge, particularly with the jobs of thousands of Bahamians on the line, with Bahamar's future unresolved.
The critical task now before the country is to get Bahamar back on track and to respond to the mass unemployment in our country, including youth unemployment, which has become chronic.
Once the resolution is approved, the minimum wage would be $5.55 per hour, $42 per day, and $210 per week. Cleopatra Murphy, ZNS Network News.
Member of Parliament for Golden Gates, Honorable Shane Gibson, defended Foreign Affairs and Immigration Minister, the Honorable Fred Mitchell, against criticism from opposition members over comments about Bahamar developer Sarkis Ismailian. During an Emancipation Day service, Mitchell said Ismailian should cease and desist his criticism of the Prime Minister and respect the office of the Prime Minister. The Foreign Affairs Minister also said that permission to live can also be revoked if an individual is not conducting himself in the public interest.
For those who criticize the member for Fox Hill because of the statements that he made, well, if the man there got an opinion, he can't have one too? I don't understand that. Yeah. He could have an opinion, he could say what he wants to say. Yeah. He could generate all these false things about what's going on. But then the member for Vauxhall have his opinion and they try to criticize. What's the big deal?
In my constituency on Emancipation Day.
Yeah. Emancipation Day, a day that represents emancipation, freedom, Mr. Speaker. The member for Vauxhall said the right thing, and I didn't support and endorse everything he said.
Member of Parliament for East Grand Bahama, Peter Turnquest, was one of those levying criticism at the Foreign Affairs Minister. He called Mitchell's actions inappropriate and out of order in the media. Turnquest defended himself and the opposition today.
I do not understand how the member can infer or deduce that we are defending the individual. What we are defending, though, is the right for him to speak, Mr. Speaker, as with any other individual in this country. We don't have to like what he says, Mr. Speaker. We can disagree with what he says, but he has the right to speak. We are a democratic country, and until that changes, that is just the painful truth.
General Secretary of the Bahamas Hotel Catering and Allied Workers Union, Darren Woods, is calling on the government to exercise the Bahamianization policy. Woods' comments come in the wake of Melia's intention to stop deductions of union dues of its employees by August 31st of this month, leaving the union to do it themselves. Woods is describing the action by Melia's executives as an attempt at union busting.
If we have to fight, we will fight. We have never run from a fight yet, and we ain't gonna start now. We've tried it another way. We've tried diplomacy, we've tried to negotiate, we've tried to talk, but the same as if all our talking are falling on deaf ears. And we now know what side of the line we're on. They've placed us there, okay? So whatever steps that we have to take in order to gain some sense of stability back in this industry, we are prepared to do so.
Now, Woods claims the union has been met by nothing short of contempt by Melia executives. Still, he says the union will not retreat in its effort to protect its 400-plus members at that property. He indicated that the hotel union filed a trade dispute with the Department of Labor just today.
Of course, we're not going to just sit down and allow the company to dictate what happens in this country when this country is a country of laws. Bahamians have to follow the law, so anyone else who comes in must follow the law also. The union is going to do whatever is in our power legally to address this situation and the ongoing saga with the Malaya Resort, because as you may be aware, they have actually stopped the union officers and organizers from gaining access to the property, which of course is a violation of the Industrial Relations Act because we are the duly recognized body. And until such time as our recognition or determination certificate has been revoked, they have an obligation to meet and treat with the union.
Well, still ahead, Commonwealth Bank donates towards a common cause.
And then the man with the fancy pants gets a fancy statue. We'll explain coming up. You're watching the Bahamas Tonight.
This portion of the news is brought to you by the new Shell and Leaded, designed for extra miles.